Okay, this is the Chapter 4 review exercises, question E65, and another actual study here. This one's kind of interesting and encouraging or discouraging, I guess, depending on where you live. So we have these twins, and we'll talk about that in just a second, and of the pair, one of them lives in a rural setting, one of them lives in an urban setting. So we go to each one of these twins, give them a spray of this radioactive Teflon particles, which I'm assuming they're saying does not affect much, or they wouldn't get it approved by the Institutional Research Board. But then they're looking at how much of that radioactivity actually stayed in the lungs after an hour. So in other words, how effectively did the lungs of each of the twins get rid of that radioactivity? So we have this block design again, except here it's a twin. So each pair here is a twin, and one of them is in rural, one of them is in urban. Why would we do that? Well, again, anytime we do this block design, we're looking at getting rid of variability. So if you have a pair of twins and you're comparing them on two separate treatments or conditions here, what's the advantage? Well, the advantage is they have the same genetic makeup. I'm assuming they're looking at identical twins here. So that they would have the same genetic makeup, so that you wouldn't say, yeah, these rural people were getting rid of it quicker, the radioactivity, but maybe genetically there's something different about. You wouldn't have any kind of hereditary or genetic factors like that. You may have some other issues, because it's certainly not an experiment. But the nice thing is that you would take out whatever the lung structure genetically of these twins are. They should be roughly the same. So within a given pair of twins, we're interested in which one performed better than the other. So now let's look at the data and see what happened. So with this twin pair 1, 10.1, 28.1, what does that mean? So percentage of radioactivity remaining. So out of that spray, after an hour, the rural twin only had 10% remaining, whereas the urban had 28% remaining. So this is definitely more desirable. We want to be getting rid of that radioactive particle inside of us. And so what we do then is take a difference. So this is in terms of the rural, so we'd have 10 minus 28 gives us negative 18. So in other words, the rural twin was 18 percentage points lower. Now on the second one, however, the rural one, this pair only had 51% left, whereas the urban only had 36%. So in general, these twins were not as good at getting the radioactiveness out of their body as this first pair of twins were. And in this case, when we take rural minus urban, we get a 15.6. So the urban did better than the rural here. Twin pair 5 was much closer. The rural was a little bit better. In fact, anytime we see a negative, we know that the rural number was lower, which means that the rural twin had less radioactiveness in the lungs after an hour. So the factor here is the location, or the environment, if you will. And the levels here are rural and urban. Those are the levels, the different subdivisions of the environment or of the location. A given block, right here, each row is a block, so it's a pair of twins. And again, that's to reduce the variability. And is it an observational study or an experiment? So as I said earlier, it's an observational. Why? Again, experiment is a very strict set of rules that it needs to follow to qualify for a true experiment. So one, we need to randomly assign to the treatment or to the condition, to the factor that we're looking at as the predictor factor, which in this case is the environment. So if we took 7 pairs of twins, randomly assigned to live in either a rural or an urban area, and one of each twin pair would go in one of each environments, that would potentially be an experiment, depending on some other things. But we certainly didn't do that, and that's not practical. So twin pair 1, this was existing condition. And anytime you're dealing with existing conditions and then you're just observing them, this is an observational study. There were no survey questions as far as we can tell. It was actually spraying and collecting that data, so it wouldn't be a survey either, even though that's not an option here, but certainly would not be an experiment. An observational study is what we have here.